Sam and Maddie in the morning nights.
Good one.
Good one. That's it. That's the one. Welcome to RPG Book Club, the podcast where we play a little bit of a video game and talk about how it makes us feel. I am Sam Allman.
And I'm Maddie.
And we are recording on a Friday night, which is so bizarre. It is not a Monday morning right now.
Friday night.
Yeah, it is. So if either of us go loopy, it's because we are never awake at this point. I mean, for Maddie, it's only 6 p.m.
So Sam is being quiet. So it's kind of like back when I had that insane housemate who made me be quiet. Except for him, it's just for a more reasonable reason.
Yeah.
Because Sam has a child.
Yeah, I don't want my baby to wake
instead
up.
Instead of a landlord that acts like a child.
Yes.
So the reason we're recording on Friday is because well, I guess we'll do that when we talk about how our week is going.
Yeah. I should, so that I can line this up, I should say that I am Sam Allman.
Wait, did you not say that?
Did we not say that? I don't think we said that.
No, you did.
Did I?
Yeah.
And did you say that you were Maddie?
Uh-huh.
Did we, Summer?
Yeah.
Oh, Summer says we did. Okay, well.
Yeah, no, yeah, we did.
Cool.
Well, it is 8:30 p.m. and it is past Sam's bedtime.
Yeah, that is absolutely right. My last 2 jobs have kept me up till midnight, and it is still past my bedtime.
Oh my god. Well, anyway.
Anyhow. But yeah, so today we are going to talk about the Grand Staff Dungeon and all of the cutscenes therein. There are a lot. But before we get to that, how was your week, Maddie?
Oh my fucking god. I'm not gonna go into the details because it's complicated and also kind of embarrassing because part of it is my fault, although not all of it. But basically, I'm having a severe crisis involving car and bureaucracy and car registration, kind of. I still don't understand exactly what the problem is, but I do know how to fix it. I might appeal it too. But basically, California was saying my car was not registered, which it was. And then when I was trying to get it registered, they were saying that, well, it actually was a little bit outdated registration, which is, like, obviously you shouldn't let your registration expire, but, like, we all make mistakes, right? It was like, that was on my to-do list, is re-register my car. It was like, you get 0 grace period in California for registration. Dang. All the websites are like, there's no grace period. Anyway, I don't have an ID. I think I mentioned before I lost my ID, so I had to get a new ID before I could get registration. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. But the point is, when I went to go register, they were saying that, like, they didn't have any record that it was my car, and they wanted my Texas registration, but I didn't have that kind of, that. So I had to mail things to Texas, and meanwhile, my car is in the impound lot. Blah, 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 blah. It's this weird kerfuffle. Anyway, it's going to cost me a shit ton of money, and I had a panic attack that lasted for multiple days. But now it's all going to be fine.
Yeah.
I'm going to scrape by without even having to borrow money from anybody. Probably. I might go do that. I had a few friends offer to help me out, so I might take them up on it anyway, just so that I can not feel stressed. But it's going to be okay.
That's good.
But yeah, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I was just like, hi, I can't do anything with anybody. Sorry.
Yeah.
I just found out this morning that it might get resolved faster than I thought. I might get the piece of paper that I need back if I'm lucky on Sunday or Monday. But if I get it on Sunday, I'm not going to be here to record Monday. And if I get it Monday, I'm not going to be here to record Tuesday. So, we'll figure out what it's one of those the top priority life problems, you know.
Yeah.
It sucks though. And any whoomst. And the reason we're recording right now instead of, like, I don't know, this morning or last night is because these dungeons are fucking bullshit.
Yeah, they are.
But I have exciting news that is not related to my life crisis.
Yeah, it is.
I have a girlfriend.
Yay.
I know, it's so exciting. Shout out to my girl Kali. She's from the internet. Shout out to selectbutton dot com.
Nice.
A good website. And home to many people, including my friend Kali. My girlfriend Kali. Yeah, she's great. And that kind of happened in the middle of all of the crises, basically. It was just like, I'm feeling so many emotions. I wish that Kali was here. Wow, I sure do like her. Yeah, that's exactly how it works.
When I asked Summer out, she was like, yeah, I'm more into like the let's date casually for a bit before we add any labels to anything. And then some girl was like hitting on me or something, and I was like, I can't talk to you. I have Summer. And I'm like, wait, that means that I want to ask out Summer. Summer, I need to ask you out. And she somehow said yes, and then we got married and shit. It was weird. She talks about it as if it was like the weirdest thing a person could do to ask her out after knowing her for 7 days, but I had to. Like,
yep,
that's where my brain was.
I really liked this girl very immediately. Well, we were already acquaintances on the internet, but like after we started really talking, it was pretty quick. But I felt trepidatious about various aspects of it, including myself and where I am in my life. So that's why it's been like 2 months. But yeah, no, basically after like a week, I was like, this girl rules, and I'm super into her. But yeah, anyway, so everything's falling apart, but also everything is actually pretty cool and nice. And life is like hard and complicated, but it goes on, and you have lots of emotions. Wow, that sounds like the themes of this game.
Yeah.
What about your week, man?
I have been playing Pokemon, and I beat the end game yesterday, so now it's just grinding out the Pokedex, which is my favorite part of it. Like,
you beat the end game as in like whatever comes after.
Yeah, after the champion.
Like,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and this one's actually is really cool. So like at first, without spoiling it, I didn't like the story that much because the story is sports, and it's like be good at sports, and then at the end you're like, by the way,
that sounds awesome.
By the way, you were good at sports, and every time something interesting about the plot would happen, the champion would be like, "This is champion business. You go to sports, and we're going to handle it." And I was like, "Oh, that's dumb. I want to know what's happening." And so it was just
the adults are handling the plot.
Yeah. So then, spoiler for the end of a Pokemon game, you become the champion. So then in the post game, you get like lore dump and coolness, and it's great, and I love it. And what's weird is you catch Rayquaza before you catch Groudon and Kyogre type thing. Like you catch the third legendary instead of your box legendary in the plot, which is super neat. But
one thing that I like about that, now I have not played the game, but what's cool is that even though I haven't played the game, the way you just explained it is I'm seeing a trend, because the last Pokemon game also did a thing where like I like where the series is going, where they're like, oh right, you're 10.
Yeah.
Right? Like in the early games, it was like, even though you're a kid, you end up going on this huge adventure and being a hero. But in Sun Moon, remember, it wasn't like you're defeating the gym leaders to be a Pokemon Master, because that seems like a weird thing for a 10-year-old to do. That seems more like something an adult would do. No, you're going on this coming of age pilgrimage that every kid your age does.
Yeah.
So the idea of having like an actual, like, I don't know, the idea, like, actually talking about the experiences of childhood versus adulthood. And I'm seeing that here, too. Like, no, you're doing sports. The adults are doing the plot. But then at the end, it's like, okay, well, now you're the champion. Now it's your responsibility to do the plot.
And it's really cool.
This
Pokemon also has a theme, which, like, literary theme, which most Pokemons haven't. And it's 100% about
surprising.
The changing of the guard. Like, 10 different characters retire from their job, and a different character takes over throughout the story.
That's cool.
And it's really, really cool.
That's a good theme too.
Yeah.
I like that.
I like it a lot, because it's all about change and people that are resistant to change, and so like what's really cool is the team is the good guys in this game, and it's awesome. Like Team Rocket is a good guy. The actual bad guys don't have a catchy name, and it's awesome. Spoilers for something that becomes incredibly obvious incredibly soon. But So the actual.
Let me guess. The really really hot chick is actually bad.
No, it is the white guy with the comb over. You also could tell.
I thought they were both bad. But you know the hot chick I'm talking about, right? The one where you look at her and you're like, yeah, she ends up being the villain, probably.
Yeah, I think we're thinking about the same girl. But yeah, and so the plot started out like dumb and I didn't care, but at the end I ended up really liking it, and it's the first time that like they've done the multiple rivals thing and you actually care about all of them in different ways, and it's really dope. But
neat.
The main part about it is the gameplay is a love letter to all of the people who were angry at Pokemon on the internet, and like if they would just stop yelling, they would notice how much the game was made for them and exactly them, and I love it. And my favorite thing that it does is the Pokédex gives you basically side quests to go do constantly, where it's like, oh hey, you've seen a Geodude. He's not in this game, but you've seen a Geodude, and on Route 9 you can catch Geodudes, so go do that. And so it like will help you catch up.
I like that.
Yeah, and so it's like giving structure to my end game, because I'm like, instead of just having to look online and be like, what all did I miss in Route 1, I just follow the breadcrumbs and eventually find everything, and it's really cool. I like it a lot.
Man, I have heard from all the reviews that like the revisions to the game's structure and mechanics are way more extensive than was apparent, and that it's all just great.
Yeah,
like it's actually really, really fucking good game design. That's really cool.
Yeah, I
speaking of the
it.
theme of go on.
I was just saying I highly recommend the games. If you're mad that there's no for Alligator or Absol as I was, it doesn't matter because everything else is great.
Yeah.
And a side effect that, of course, because this happened in both Gen 5 and Gen 3 and I loved it, is I couldn't just put a Gyarados on my team, which of course I did anyways because he's in the game, but like I couldn't rely on just my Gyarados, for Alligator, Absol, Jolteon team or whatever that I always get. I had to learn to love the new guys and had to use ones that weren't new but I had never ever looked at before type thing, and it was really cool. Unfortunately, they give you an Axew really early in the game, and Axew evolves into Haxorus, which is the fastest and strongest dragon type in the whole thing.
So it's just way OP.
So it's way OP, and I wiped the floor with it, and everyone talks about how like well balanced this game is and how like the gym leaders will use like status effects and buffs and debuffs and stuff in a way that they haven't ever before, but it didn't matter because I hit so fast and so hard that I beat everything. And so if you want a hard mode, just don't catch the Axew. That's at the very beginning. Just play with other monsters and you'll be okay. But it's good.
I saw a tweet that was like, I used Razor Leaf 7 times in a row. The announcer, oh my goodness, what a brilliant trainer. Could he have what it takes to become the master? It's like, I just used Razor Leaf 7 times in a row, dude. Yeah. It's not that hard. Hey, Sam. I was
going to say, the other thing I did this week, and by this week I mean an hour ago, was I watched Frozen 2, and it fucking slaps. And everyone should go see it. I was about
to segue into that. I was going to say, speaking of stories where the theme is all about change and how people deal with it.
Yeah.
Because isn't that the theme of Frozen 2, kind of?
Kinda. It's it's good.
I read one review of it.
Yeah, it's real
ruined
good.
my segue.
And like one thing that I really like about it is the single that is in all the toys and plays during the credits and is like the hype song for this movie is good, but it is not the emotional climax of the movie like Let It Go was from the first one. So it's not.
So they didn't blow their load by showing it off ahead of time.
No, yeah. So it didn't ruin it by showing it off ahead of time, and it also won't take the punch away from it when Scarlett puts it on repeat forever later. Like I won't have to listen to all of her toys singing it. And it being everywhere, I can still feel all my feelings when the emotional climax hits, which it's a brutal, in both good and bad ways, emotional climax, and everyone should bring an entire Kleenex store when they go to watch it.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really smart. Yeah, it's like, hey, we need to have a song that really is a cathartic, like the cathartic sort of centerpiece of the movie, but also we don't want everyone to hear it 10 billion times.
But
so we'll make a different one that's a total banger.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch it, and I also can't wait to. I am planning on like bonkering down on Pokemon maybe over the holiday. You know.
Yeah. It'll
because there's no better time like being home for the holiday to be like just play video games. Like my mom's gonna be like, "Hey kid, like let's go do a family activity," and I'll be like, "Mom, I'm playing Pokemon. you don't tell me what to do."
I also
you're not my real mom.
I also rediscovered something from my childhood this week that I had forgotten is the best feeling in the world. But our AC has been on the fritz, and so, as you know, cold air sinks, so it's a lot cooler down by the ground than it is sitting up in a chair. And so Summer was playing Sims on her computer, so I grabbed my Switch, and I laid on the floor to play Pokemon on my Game Boy for the first time since I was like 12, and that's like a magical feeling, and I loved it, and I recommend it to everyone. Just lay on the floor and play your big fancy computer Game Boy.
The other thing I did this week besides my life crisis and girlfriend is play a lot of Death Stranding. If you hop over to my other podcast, How You Play Resident Evil, you can hear my more detailed thoughts. But suffice it to say, it is an absolute masterpiece. And now it's been getting better.
Nice.
Like the more the game goes on, the better it is. It really. The mechanics really flower. Well, it's funny, I say the mechanics flower, but it's not like a Final Fantasy 13 thing where it's like you're not really playing the whole game until 20 hours in. It's more like you think you're playing the whole game, but then they just keep adding more and more wrinkles and more. The number one thing about this game that makes it, I think, the best designed Hideo Kojima game, I think it's better than any Metal Gear game just as far as pure fun and game design, is that it avoids the main problem that those games have. And a lot of games, so many games have the problem where you get all these fun abilities and never use them.
Yeah.
Right? Metal Gear especially, because it's like, here's all these crazy guns and tanks and shit, but high-level play in Metal Gear is non-lethal.
Yeah.
The game's themes and design encourage you to play stealthily and non-lethally. If you're blowing everything up, even causing a ruckus, you're playing badly. So ironically, the better you are at the game, the more high level you're playing, the more you're not engaging with any of its systems. This game doesn't have that problem. Every single time I complete like a major plot quest, they're like, oh, here's a new plot thing. Also, here's a new gameplay element or a new major item or a new structure that you can build or a new online feature or a new type of quest, and every single time it's a huge fucking deal. And your brain is already like, oh shit, this item totally changes the way I'm going to play the game.
Nice.
It totally opens up new possibilities. And oftentimes the game's themes are expressed primarily through the gameplay and the game's design, way more than the plot, at least so far. So every time there's a new gameplay wrinkle and a new change to the way that to what you're doing and the systems and the restrictions and the freedoms and the just that, it also changes what the game is saying. And adds more like depth and complexity. So yeah, it just keeps getting better and better and better. It fucking rules. I think it's definitely my game of the year. It might be more than that. It might be significantly beyond game of the year.
Nice.
But
do you think it'll sneak out game of the decade in the last month of the decade?
It fucking might. Who knows?
Nice.
For me, here's the thing. Obviously, I'm a huge Kojima stan. Obviously, I love him, but that doesn't mean I'm going to automatically love anything he does.
Yeah.
I'm not blind, And Death Stranding, not only is it great, but it's not what I was expecting. It's not great in the ways I was expecting. It's great in different ways, and I'm really, really blown away. And basically, even if it shits the bed in the last third, like I'm satisfied with it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like regardless of whether I think it's amazing or whatever at the end, like I am I'm not disappointed. Kojima is my favorite game designer, and I'm not disappointed by his new game. I am extremely happy with it, and I think it's wonderful that he made it, and I can't wait to see how it goes from here. And then when I'm done, I'll be just so excited to see what he does next. He's proven that he really is a he's proven that he really is a next level artist. You know, even now that he's moved beyond Metal Gear and made something that is this good.
Yeah, and he's not a Shigesato Itoi, where he's a great game designer for making Mother games, and that's it. So it's like he's now made a game that's amazing that's not Metal Gear, so we know he can't just make Metal Gear games.
And that's really broadened his oeuvre as a creator, because now it's like, who knows what's coming next for this guy, you know? Which is an exciting proposition.
Yeah, which is awesome. Speaking of exciting propositions, let's talk about these big ol' dungeons we got coming up.
Let's talk about this goddamn video game. So
let's first listen to some Nobuo Uematsu music. I'm really running out of tracks. There is 70 songs in the game, and most of them are ambient. So it's maybe a repeat, but we'll listen to something and then we'll talk about this game. So what were you about to say before I interrupt?
I was just going to say, so the first dungeon, where we left our heroes, we were about to go to Grand Staff to fuck up Gongora, and it turns out you do 2 Grand Staff dungeons, which I knew that because I played this game. Mm-hmm. This game kind of drags on in the end. And the first Grand Staff dungeon has, like, literally nothing happens.
Yeah.
Basically. But tell us the few things that do happen, Sam.
So, before you head in, when you're going around on the boat, Kayam will say that Grand Staff is going to recharge its energy at the Sea of Vows, so that's where you're headed. You can head there directly, or do a bunch of side quests, or if you're like me, you can try to find a side quest that's not way too hard and requires a boatload of grinding, just so that you can get a slot plus 10, because I needed it. And all of my mages specifically, like, I would have to choose between, like, relax and white magic type thing, or it's like 2 really important things, and I didn't have enough slots, so I fixed that by giving people 10 extra slots.
Oh, I need to get slot plus 10. Hell
it's
yeah!
It's at the Numara Atoll, so just north. You can see the atoll on the map.
I know where it is. Yeah.
But
you can actually go there. That's the one that you can go to ages ago when you first get the Nautilus, but then the boss annihilates you.
No, you actually can't go. You can go to the place and grind on the liquid metal slimes, but you can't fight the boss until you get the harp that's on the white boa.
Oh, okay.
But
that's right. Yeah, the random mobs kick your ass. That's right.
Yeah, random mobs also guarantee a level.
Doesn't this side quest actually have like a plot thing?
Kinda, yeah. So that side quest is about the Holy Beast, and which is a thing where it's like a religious thing for the people of Numara. And so when Ming showed up, she went and like communed with the Holy Beast, and the Holy Beast was like, "Hey, you should unite."
Oh hell yeah, I love communism.
You should unite the people of Numara and be their queen, and I give you my blessing as their guardian and stuff like that. And so she would commune with it by playing her harp, playing the song that she played when Jansen peeped on her earlier in the game. But you go and get the harp, and then you come back, and she plays it, and the Holy Beast shows up, and it's gone evil. Probably Gongora's fault, because everything's his fault. So you beat it up to subdue it so that she can use her magic to heal it, and then it thanks you and gives you slot plus 10, which is dope.
That's dope. That's dope as shit. I love it. Love to see it.
Yeah, so we go into the dungeon, and we basically just make our way through the dungeon. So the first part, that's the one with the first half is the one with where you have to tightrope walk across the tubes, right?
And also you have to like turn off all the boilers so that the steam goes away and stuff like that. Gameplay wise, everything in this dungeon is my memorable moments dark mode, aka things that fucking suck ass. So we can skip over it and I'll bitch about it later.
Yeah, it's all pretty dumb. The second one that we go to is actually really cool, but the first half is super
way better.
dumb. So there's a couple optional bosses that don't really have cutscenes. It's just it's like a reverse Green Dragon, where it's an optional boss that is just a mob that you have to face later. But there's a bunch of them, and they give buku's experience in gold and SP. So I fought every single one of them and wasted a lot of time because they're mobs later. So I could have just done it later.
Yep. Also around this time you get the best shit, which is said learns the ability double experience.
Yeah, he does.
He already had, when you got him, he already had double XP, double loot, double gold, but he didn't have double experience. And once he gets that, it's just like, boom, baby, it's off to the races.
And it's great. So going through, and I'm trying to remember if
literally not a single cutscene happens, and that's important because if there had been a cutscene, I would have gotten a goddamn checkpoint, which I'm gonna, but there isn't. So there's no checkpoint in this whole dungeon, and you get to the top, and we see our friend Gongora.
Yeah, so you see Gongora at the very, very top, and he hides behind his saints, the people that he killed and brought back to life before. And so they threaten you, and you're like, we're not afraid of no ghosts. And then Gongora pulls the lever crunk and jettisons off the part of the part of Grandstaff that you're on, and he rides the rest of it into the sky. And so you're falling into the ocean, but the white boa swings around, so everyone jumps to the safety of its deck, but so do the saints. And so now you have I should mention that the saints say that Gongora is going to become a god, and Kayam is just like, yeah, that's all fake. None of that's real. He's an alien. We're all aliens. We already know the plot. He's lying to you. Let's fight. So then, what's really cool is, if you remember, there were seven mages that he killed before, but one of them didn't pass his test, so he died forever, a super dark double dream bubble death. And so when you fight these guys, only 6 of them are there, but which 6 are randomized. So they all are they're all immune to all damage except for one type, and there's 7 different colors that they can be, and you get 6 different ones depending on how you do it. But it's an easy boss fight because.
So I want to say something interesting. I want to say something interesting about this. Actually, what you're saying I thought was true, but then it weirdly ended up not being. And frankly, I don't know exactly what happened. So I'm fighting these bitches, and the game did not clearly signpost that I was about to enter a cutscene that would lead to a boss battle. So I went in with a dumbass team. I went in with Mac and Ced in the front. Mac and Ced in the front row, and then Ming and Sarah and Jansen in the back row. Okay. Not the best party.
It's not bad though. I took
any party in this game is fine, frankly.
All 4 mages with Kayam to block, and that was it.
Nice. And the reason, of course, is because I really wanted Jansen to be getting that double XP, because I really wanted Jansen to learn. Because in this dungeon, you start to find the level 3 elemental spells, but I didn't yet have the ability to cast them. So I was like, okay, Jansen's my black mage. He's definitely going to be the first person to learn Black Magic 7. So I put him in my party, and eventually he did learn it, and then he was doing bitchin' amounts of damage using Groundus and Aquarus and stuff like that. But anyway, so I'm fighting this party. Normally I go way physical, so this time I'm mostly doing magic. And they do hit pretty hard, so my physical hitters were largely just using items to heal people and shit. But anyway, after the first round, it was fine. I almost died right at the beginning, you know. But anyway, yeah. So if you look at them with your analysis, they all are listed as having no element. But of course, their names are like red acolyte, blue acolyte, green acolyte, black acolyte. So I'm like, yeah, like I guess I probably but it says there's no element though. So I just started hitting them in order and not caring. I just like one of them had one of my guys had a fire ring, one of them had a wind ring, and I just hit them both on the first guy, but then one of them did damage and the other one did 0. And I was just like, okay, maybe they do have elements, it's just special. So then I was kind of operating under those principles, but then I had I had 2 of my spellcasters queuing up all Grounda and like all Flera. And I thought I'll just try it. And first of all, they were kicking my ass, and I was legitimately probably going to die the next turn. But then both all Grounda and all Flera fired on the same turn, and that killed all of them. So those 2 spells hit everybody.
Weird.
Even though before, not only had my physical attack sometimes done that, I had also previously had someone, I think I had Jansen cast like Flaris on someone, and it did 0 damage, or it missed. And I was just like, what? Yeah. So yeah, I don't know how this battle works.
Yeah, maybe I think it's supposed to work the way that I said it, because how I did it is you hit the red guy with fire, the blue guy with water, the green guy with wind.
See, I was
the yellow guy
overthinking it. I
with
was like,
earth.
I was overthinking. I was like, oh, he's red, I should hit him with water, you know?
The
Dumb.
white one you hit with physical attacks, and the black one you use poison on. And that's that's the only way I did damage. That's the way the guide says is the way you do damage. Maybe there was some check that didn't check for composite magic. But
yeah. I have no idea what I fucking did, but it worked, and that's good, because if they had beat me, I would have lost like 2 hours of progress.
Yep. So after you beat them, you're like, okay, well, let's chase after Grand Staff. It flew towards the center of the map. If you've been using your airship, Grand Staff has been at the center of the map the whole time, because the model's there both times.
You mean you? Oh no, that's Tower of Mirrors.
Oh, okay, that is the Tower of Mirrors. You're right, but You're very right. I had forgot that that's what happens.
I mean, they're both tall magical towers.
Yeah, and they're kind of shaped the same. Not exactly the same, but enough where it makes I can see where I got it mixed up. But yeah, so you go to chase after Grand Staff, and as you're getting ready to leave, Cook notices some lightning burst up out of the ocean, and Ming is like, the beam is pure magic energy, and they're like, but why would it be coming from underwater? And they're like, oh, it's probably the mirrors, the Tower of Mirrors. It must have been underwater, which I didn't really get, because, like I said before, there was a big tower sticking out of the water. I don't know. It was everything was worded kind of weird in this scene. It probably was hastily localized.
Yeah, they kept saying like it's like behind the stars, and I was like, you know what? Whatever.
Yeah.
The bad guy's going to do a thing, okay?
He's going to go do the thing, and he's causing explosions, so we got to stop it. So, so they figure out that Gongora, for some reason, is going to just destroy the Tower of Mirrors, which is a bad thing, because if his magical nuke was, like, destroying the world already, blowing up a bigger magical nuke is probably a bad idea. So they're like, let's go stop him from doing that and find out what he's up to. So we head over towards where the Grand Staff is. It tells us for the second time, this is the point of no return, that it has lied to us. There are three.
Yeah, it turns out in this game, when they say this is the PNR, they actually mean this is the PNR for this dungeon.
Yeah.
They just mean you're going to be locked into this dungeon.
Yeah.
The game basically doesn't have a PNR. I mean, I know it technically does, but it's literally before the actual final dungeon. So it's like, that's it. You know, it's not one of those point of returns where the game goes on for a while, but you can't do side quests.
Yeah.
It's like, no, like literally right outside the last dungeon, you can do everything.
So you know how we were talking about how this game is a JRPG for JRPG's sake, and it uses JRPG tropes to make its story better, because everything it flips on its head only works because of how strictly they follow the formula. This is the Super NES style, this might be the end of the game. Because, like, we didn't know any of these things were coming, except I was looking at the walkthrough, and so I was spoiled by knowing that these weren't real PNRs. But, like, you were heading to Grand Staff to fight Gongora. It could have been the point of no return. So lampshading it as the big point of no return is totally a thing that Super NES RPGs did about halfway through that modern games can't do because we can count discs. But this one being on disc 4, it totally could have been. So
it's actually pretty cute, especially the second one. So like Grand Staff Part 1, whatever. I mean, I didn't really believe them anyway, right? Yeah. But Grand Staff Part 2, like, they definitely very much sell it as like, this is it, gang, the final boss. Yeah. You know? Which it's not, but it's cool that they do that.
Yeah. So the Tower of Mirrors is in a lake that's surrounded by mountains, so you can't fit to it in the White Boa. If you even try to bring the White Boa over, the Nautilus can fly, and there's a lot of stuff in your way, so I just flew. And so if you, as you approach it, it'll say that's the point of no return, blah, 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 blah. And so then it cuts to a FMV of the Grand Staff, like, not flying up like you would think. It's literally just, like, dragging its ass across the ground, cutting through mountains, because Gongora is metal, and... He doesn't.
Yeah, because they wanted to have a cool chase scene, like where the Nautilus is chasing the Grand Staff through this cool canyon, but it's like, wait, you could have just flown way up in the air and gone over the canyon and then gone down. Okay, whatever.
Nope.
Maybe he wanted to get there faster.
Yeah, he drug a canyon through the ground with his self, and it was awesome. So, yeah, so you're flying, you're going towards it on the water, and you're like, how are you going to get close? And it says, like, don't worry, I got this. So he starts podammering and dodging, like, rocks as they fly to then just stab Grand Staff with the nose of the Nautilus. And he's just like, all right, everybody, out through the nose. We got a dungeon to do.
Yeah, I mean, why climb up a dungeon when you can just literally crash right into the top of it?
Yeah, it was awesome. And so when they get out, they're like, okay, so we're pretty close to the top, so we just got to go up a couple floors, and we can go stop Gongora. Surely there won't be a giant clock-like mechanism that we have to navigate to just go up 2 flights of stairs. But there is, and it's awesome.
Yeah, this game does not believe in, like, not having a dungeon.
Yeah.
Like, every point in this game where the characters have to go into a place and do something, they never throw you a bone, you know? They never do the thing where, like, you get there, and then you go up an elevator, and there's a cutscene. Yeah. No. Like, every time there's supposed to be a dungeon, there's a dungeon.
Yep. And, the mobs here are cool. They're the optional ones from before, but they're really easy to cheese, because the first time you fight one, every single action you take in combat gets countered with a toxin spell to poison your characters. So then you just equip all your immortals with anti-poison, and you equip anti-poison bangles on your mortals. So then you walk in just like, yo, what's up? None of y'all can hurt me. I'm going to just take your experience real quick. And it was cool. But the main gimmick is the elevators are, like, weird shaped. They're, like, shaped like an unknown Pokemon. Just, like, big circular weirdness. And the way up is blocked with, like, beams and shit. So you have to rotate the elevator to fit through the beams as you go up, and it's cool. I really liked it.
Fucking Otis, man, am I right? They really should have contracted ThyssenKrupp for these.
Sure.
Those are the 2 main companies that make elevators.
Okay, I believe you. But halfway through, you get to a thing, which might actually be before the elevator I just talked about. I don't remember exactly. But you're like, okay, well, we need to power up this elevator, so we need to do these 2 generators on either side. So we'll split the party up into 2 teams of 2, and you have to shut them down at the same time by fighting these bosses and killing the bosses at the same turn. And it was unlike anything I've ever done in a turn-based RPG, and it was badass. Loved that boss fight.
Yeah, it was really, really, really good. Yeah, one of the high points of the game as far as game design goes.
Yeah, like...
Did you have a lot of trouble with it? I actually didn't have too much trouble with it. I just had to like think and use my think brain and have a good time.
Yeah, Kayam and Seth have been in my party the entire game, so they have almost the exact same damage output. Same with Ming and Sarah, because I didn't use either of them when I first got them because I didn't have enough slots. But then when I got slots, both of them started getting stuff at the same time, so it was really easy to do it. The only hairy part was Kayam got a stupid critical hit at one point and brought it down to like 30 HP, so I had to heal for like 2 turns till the other people caught up. But it was really cool. I really loved it. But yeah, so you do that. Also, just because all verisimilitude in this game has gone out the entire window. The generators are operated by otherworldly beings trapped in other dimensions that we harness their energy from, because that makes sense. And so when you go, you just like walk over towards this seemingly nondescript generator, and your parties are transported into the fucking Twilight Zone to fight a giant JRPG boss, because why not? And I loved it.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah. Whatever. I mean, the coronation ceremony is drinking blood via magic, so everything's out the window at this point. So, yeah, so I think that's the only, like, mid point before that you ride up another set of elevators, and so you come up at the very top. One important thing that you get in here is a crystal fragment. Did you get the crystal fragment, Maddie?
I don't remember. Probably.
It's the
I
one
explored everything.
It's the
so
one that
probably.
auto heals your MP every turn.
Oh shit! I must not have equipped it.
Yeah, you should not go into the final dungeon, and you should go to Saman and grind that auction house until you get it, because your mages, like, you get like 35 MP each turn, which means your mages at best lose 5 MP when they cast their high level spells, which is beautiful.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, and so so you run up to where Gongora should be, and instead you have to fight an Arthosaurus in close quarters, but it's not much harder than it was last time.
Yeah, so it's like, bitch, we fought these already. What do you think's going to happen, Gongora? We're going to kick its ass. Maybe he knew that because, as we see in the next cutscene, he has a trick up his sleeve. So maybe he's just like, oh, I need 5 more minutes to finish the thing I'm working on. Here, fight an Arthosaurus.
Yeah. So you beat it down, and you're like, we're awesome, Gongora. We're going to stop you. And he's like, no, because this world is full of emotions, and I'm evil, and emotions are bad, and we have no emotions on our world, so I'm going to harness this energy called emotions and win the world. And there's this cool part where I forget exactly how it's worded, but Ming is basically like, emotions are power, but it's not power to take, and he's like, all power is power to take, or something like that. He says a cool villain line, and I can't remember it at all right now.
So I want to pause real fast, because I read this scene differently. There's a lot of talking in this scene. The characters go back a lot. They kind of pontificate for a while. Gongora's motivations are a little bit hard to suss out, and I don't think it's like a bad writing thing. I think it's actually kind of on purpose. It's just a little complex. I read it as like, it's like he comes from a land of the ice and snow where they don't have emotions, and then he comes here and he's like, what the fuck are emotions? But then he's like, wait, emotions are beautiful. Like, he's actually kind of giving a, like, humanity is beautiful speech. Like, we the love and the hate and the lives they live actually is touching and meaningful. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm gonna be evil and rule everyone.
Yeah.
It's like, he, like, kind of actually came to the same lesson as the other characters, but he's like, I love emotion, but emotion also is the source behind magic power, and I like I like all sorts of emotion, but the emotion I like the most is power. And Kaim is like, power isn't an emotion.
Yeah, that's
nuts.
what he says.
But he's like, I like I like those kind of emotions, those bad emotions. Yeah, and at one point he has a great villain line. He says, "If I am to be infected by this virus called emotion, I welcome it," which is cool. And yeah, they pontificate. They do some what do you call it? Crowning moment of heartwarming, hero speeches. Jansen has a good one. It'll probably be one of our memorable moments.
Yeah.
It's. I might want to talk about it more next week, actually, because they suss out the motivations of characters even more next week. But yeah, it's Gongora is neat. I think it's like, okay, I think it's basically like, did he miss the entire point of emotions? Does he think that emotions are bad, as opposed? Is he a foil to the heroes? No. He's really not a foil to the heroes. He's the same as the heroes, but he's just also a megalomaniac and wants to rule the world.
Yeah.
But that's kind of unrelated.
Yeah, it's kind of
It's
awesome.
good.
He's just like, oh, emotions are awesome and they're super powerful. You know what power can do? It can rule the world. So since I'm immortal, I already got a leg up on all other
he's kind of just like, I want to rule the world because I want to rule the world. Like, why not? Like, that's the thing that I want to do because it sounds like a good time. And the heroes are just like, but don't do that.
Yeah. So I wonder. So Gongora was hanging out with everybody for 970 years before he kicked this into thing. Was he just like chill and going around and watching people die like Kaim was for the whole time? Or was he like...
One thing I've always been interested in this game is the idea that these characters seem to have lived very different lives.
Yeah.
Like, it seems like they didn't hang out with each other for most of the 1,000 years, and you wonder why, but maybe it was on purpose. Like, it actually makes sense that they would have intentionally been like, we're going to go our different ways. Because remember, the whole reason they're here is to learn about life and about the world and about emotions. So maybe they're like, we're all going to go have different adventures. Seth, you go have fun being a pirate.
God.
Ming, what?
So, you know how most of the dreams involve one of Kaim's families, and then they die on him, and it's horrifying. Sarah was his last wife. It's almost as if he was like, I want to love, but I'm not going to lose people again. I can't take it. So I'm going to be with a person that can live forever with me.
Yeah.
You can't just decide to love the immortal, of course. I'm not saying their love is just a business transaction, but it's like...
Yeah.
Like, even if it's not on purpose, it's like poetic. That it's like, he
no,
finally doesn't have to lose somebody.
Yeah, so that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking maybe they like intentionally went their own way, and which, if you think about that, Kaim really got the short end of the stick, because it's like, hey Gongora, you're gonna go be an evil vizier, sweet. Seth, you're gonna go have fun being a pirate. Ming, you get to be the queen of a whole country. Hey Kaim, you're just gonna be a wandering vagabond, and everyone you know is gonna die, and you're gonna be sad all the fucking time. It's like
right.
he really got the shit into this deal, and then. But maybe like I think maybe after 950 years of going around, maybe he because remember that they've mentioned that like Seth and Ming occasionally run into each other, and maybe they'd run into each other and they'd be like sup and like not like pretending like they don't know each other. And maybe he just ran into Sarah one time and they realized that they really, basically they met up after a long time, and turns out that they really liked each other. Just had natural chemistry, and then he's like, wow, I get to marry someone who isn't just gonna die on me.
And then Gangora was like, hold my beer.
Yeah. God. I don't know. It's weird how they don't talk a whole lot about the details of all that, and it's you can just guess, you can just kind of figure it out your damn self, but they don't really explain like what really they were doing.
Yeah, and it's really cool. I really like it. So, speaking of things I don't really like, Gangora. So after he pontificates, Sarah is like, you can't control people's emotions like that. Oh yeah, Gangora says that he wants to rule the world by controlling this power. So emotions are power, and he's going to turn it against everybody because he's Gangora, and that's what he does. So Jansen is like, yeah, this is totally wrong, and Gangora is like, yeah, but you're immortal, so I don't care what you do because you're weak to shit like this. And he casts a magic at Jansen, turns him into like a green-faced zombie, and turns around to attack the party. And you get into a battle, but if you hurt Jansen, you get a game over. So you just defend for like 15 turns until the cutscene is over. But what's awesome is he only casts level 1 spells to like signal to you that it's fake and you shouldn't hurt him. And all of my characters had guard heal, which healed more damage than he dealt every turn. I was literally in no danger whatsoever.
Which, thank God, because if he was casting like Aqua on my dudes, I would have been fucking wrecked.
Yeah. So then Gangora is like, emotions are so strong that I can even feel Jansen's emotions independent of my control over him, and he's in excruciating pain that he's having to hurt you, and he's trying to stop himself, yada yada yada, but then that gets annoying for Gangora, and he's like, come on, just like stop with all the emotion things and just hurt your friends. So he's like, F this. So he casts Ultima and bombards the whole area with a meteor shower, and so the party dies, and Gangora releases Jansen from his contract, and Jansen collapses as well. That was my one memorable moment is happening right now with Jansen and Ming, so I'm going to highlight it on the page so I don't forget. So then Gangora is taunting everybody and laughing in his villain sort of way, and the Grand Staff smashes into the side of the Tower of Mirrors, and so Gangora starts to head in to blow the place, but then a voice comes out of nowhere and demands that everyone return immediately, and Gangora recognizes the voice and is like, nah, F that, and he heads into the Tower of Mirrors. And so then
I want to put a point on one little thing. Mm-hmm. One thing that's neat that you find out in this scene, I think in this scene, is that every single thing Gangora, like, Grand Staff isn't just a big base that he made because he wanted to be cool. Mm-hmm. Grand Staff is built everything that he did previously in his plot in the last 30 years was specifically to build Grand Staff.
Yeah. Because
Grand Staff, the point of Grand Staff is to channel as much magic energy as possible in order to destroy the mirrors.
Yes.
So like he was like, hey King, you should build Grand Staff in order to have a military weapon. Hey, other country, you should build Grand Staff because of the Cold War. Mm-hmm. But really he's like, no, all of this stuff is literally just one thing. I literally just need to make the most powerful magic gun possible.
Yeah.
So that I can blow up this thing.
What if he made a magic gun that was so powerful that the cockpit was inside of the bullet?
and he had to be the bullet and get shot at the mirror. That is still the greatest fucking cutscene in like the history of Japanese role playing games.
It's so good.
Like, what the fuck? But yeah, so he actually does that. He like channels all the energy from the ocean and from the stars and from the everything and blasts the bejesus out of it. Mm-hmm. And I think it like basically works. Like, it doesn't actually destroy the mirrors, but it like, he's not like, no, it failed. He's like, hell yeah. And then he goes through a teleporter, and now he's going to the mirrors directly, presumably to wrap this up, I guess.
Mm-hmm. So Grandstaff is collapsing, and we get to hear that bomb-ass escape track again. And we try to follow Gangora, but the path into the tower is sealed. So we're like, all right, so let's not die here. Let's set a timer for 8 minutes and get the fuck out of here. And it really
and get
only
out
takes,
in like 2 minutes.
Yeah, it really only takes like 2 minutes. I never even got into a fight on my way out. Like the last time I got into like 2 or 3 fights that I had to run from, but this one, like, I didn't even get into a single one. So you make your way out, and you get back on the Nautilus, and the Nautilus pulls out as Grandstaff collapses and falls into the ocean. And then it's like, hey, no, for real this time. This is the point of no return. If you want to do side quests, go and do them now, or double your save. Bye.
Yeah, and I love this because they're like, wow, the bad guy is like mere seconds away from completing his plot. Everything's going well. He just teleported to the Tower of Mirrors. We have to go up an entire dungeon to get there. Time is running out. Oh, by the way, you want to fuck off and do side quests for 10 hours?
Yep.
It's like, I know every game does that, but I feel like it's like extra egregious in this game. It's really funny. Because like if they had said like, let's fuck off and do side quests before going to Grandstaff Dungeon 1, that would make sense. But this is like, this isn't the beginning of the end. This is the middle. This is almost the end of the end. Like the end game is already in progress, and then they're just like, bam, back to the world map.
Yep. So let's listen to some Nobuo Uematsu music, and then we will talk about our memorable moments. All right, Maddie, you start off because I'm sure you have a lot. Actually, I only have the one, so I'm going to start with that one.
Cool.
So after Jansen comes back to when he calls down Ultima on everybody, Ming is like dying, and Gangora is pontificating and being an evil genius, and Ming isn't even listening. She just crawls over towards Jansen, and it's great, and I love it, and they're my OTP.
Yeah, they're really fucking good. No, I only have a couple. I was blasting through it. I was not paying too much attention, frankly, because of my life being the way it is. But anyway, when you're in the first dungeon, if you fall off of that pipe and fall into the water, Jensen goes, "Oh, what's this?" He actually says, "Ow, what's this?" But it's like the exact same thing, like one letter off. I thought that was funny. There's a part where I forget when this happens, but they're chasing Grandstaff and they're about to get it. They're like, we're about to catch up. Haha, we're gonna save the day. And Seth is like, hold on, we're not quite there yet. Save your breath. And Mac and Cook both go, saving breath, and they start holding their breath, and it's really cute.
I love it.
I love that part. One part that really stood out to me is actually I'll save this for later. A tiny bit of bitching. Like I said, that first dungeon is bullshit. Please don't put a 1 or 2 hour long dungeon in your game and only have a save point at the beginning of it. It's bad
because this one does give you a lot of Dark Souls back to it, but it's like the Dark Souls skipped.
I didn't find one.
So, but you probably did and didn't realize that's what they were, because they only went around like one puzzle, so you still would have to backtrack like 80% of what you did before instead of 100%.
I actually was thinking about that because like there's these chutes, but there's one point early on where I go down a chute, and as far as I can tell, I mean, maybe I just missed it or wasn't thinking straight, but all the Dark Souls I found put me back at the point after I went down that chute. So from my point of view, I still can't go back.
The Jedi are evil.
But maybe I could have. But anyway, yeah, it's some dumb shit, and it's extra dumb shit because I game over twice on this dungeon.
Yeah.
The first time was when I got to the optional boss. They don't signpost this as being an optional boss.
You walk in the room and you look up at it and you're like, oh, hey, what's that? And then you walk to it. It says examine. It doesn't say start a boss battle with a really bitchin' hard boss. So you just...
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm going to click on this thing because I like to click on things in games. It turns out it's a battle. Turns out you can't run from it. Turns out it killed me. This battle, it's actually really neat. Basically, look, it's one of those things where, like, I could have beaten this battle if I could have, like, rejiggered my party composition, you know, and changed up my skills. That's all it was. But I went into it with whatever equipment and skills I happened to have at the time.
Yeah.
Which was not enough to beat it, right? This guy, what makes him tough is that, first of all, he hits really hard. He does shadow us twice per turn.
Yeah.
Halfway through, I went online to get some hints, and they were like, yeah, you shouldn't be too bad because he doesn't usually do the double shadow us every round. He only does it sometimes. And he did it every single round for me.
Yeah.
But also,
RNG has just been weird in this game. Like, I will have no problem with a boss, and you will have crazy problems with a boss, and it all comes down to the RNG of the moves they use.
It's just
turn.
Like, did they use the motherfuck move every turn or not? You know. And in addition, though, this boss has a pretty good chunk of health. He has almost like infinite physical defense. You can only hurt him with magic, basically, and magic doesn't do that much damage either. Actually,
yeah.
He has.
Did you forget what to do if they have high physical and magical defense?
You use random, right?
Use gamble, yeah. And
gamble,
so I just
yeah. No, that's how I was doing. Yeah, so you got to use gamble.
Mage and gambled like.
But the thing is, the way my party composition was, I only had 2 people that could cast that.
It's only level 2. Why didn't you should have had enough bangles in your inventory to throw bangles on people.
I think they were equipped on people who weren't in my party, which you should never have anything equipped. I don't remember the exact details, but yeah. Also, I didn't figure this out till I was already dying, right? Yeah. Extremely dying. And also, here's the thing: he heals himself 700 HP every turn. So, point is, I'm getting motherfucked, and he ends up... I actually still almost did kind of succeed because 3 of my party members were immortals, so he was having trouble killing all 3 of us at once because we just kept coming back. But anyway, he beats me, so I lose like an hour of progress, and then I'm playing again, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that. And then I wiped on a battle because all 5 of my guys got petrified.
Dang. That sucks.
So then, of course, the third time, I equipped skills or abilities to protect against petrification on everybody.
I have had anti-petrify on everybody ever since I got Sarah, because her dungeon is where I first wiped to all petrify, and I don't want to ever risk it. Petrify makes sense. Petrify is a bad... It's actually good in Lost Odyssey and only Lost Odyssey, but Lost Odyssey came out after all of the other games in which Petrify is a bad game
at least
design.
in Lost Odyssey, it takes like 3 turns, or they have to double tap you with it.
Yeah, and on top of that,
guess what?
It works because your guys are immortal, and so it's not just an alternate way to KO people. It's like the only way to KO an immortal, which is kind of cool. It's like it should be scary and a thing you deal with. Unlike
could I have healed my petrification and before the 3 turns passed and they all turned to petrify? Yes, I could have.
Yeah.
I also could have not fucked up my car shit. There's a lot of things I could have done in life, but didn't do. Could I have not ruined my marriage? Yes. Oh yeah, I'm officially getting divorced now, so that's fun.
Yeah.
So it's not fun. I wasn't being I'm not actually being. I'm actually sad about it. I'm being flip. Anyway, yeah. So this dungeon just took me a really goddamn long time, and then I get to that boss, that actual boss, which again surprised me. I wasn't expecting it, and I'm like, if these guys kill me, I'm gonna fucking scream. Like, oh my fucking god, this is the worst goddamn shit ever.
I had a similar thing, because how checkpoints are generated is if a voiced cutscene happens, like with subtitles instead of a text box. If one of those happens, it generates you a checkpoint. For most of the game, that is great. For the end game and all the optional shit, it is not. So when I mentioned I wandered around for a few hours trying to do side quests that I could afford, it's because I got complacent, because I would walk into a place and I would watch a cutscene, and then I would face a random mob that I would be way too underleveled for, or happen to be fine on all the random mobs, get to the boss that's like you should grind to level 200 before you even attempt it sort of thing, and would get the floor wiped with me, and it would not generate a checkpoint until like 3 things I had done before, because there also aren't save points, because it's the end game and you have the Nautilus and you can always just save on the world map. But if you save on the world map, it's not a save point, so you don't think to ever save on the world map. And yeah, there's a lot of just annoying things. Like, I fought the Holy Beast about 3 times.
God.
Yeah. I had to do the fucking thing to get Gamble, because I had forgotten it back in the day. So the little thing where you talk to all of the Kilolon statues, I had to do that mini game like 4 times, because I would do it and be like, okay, I have Gamble now, let me go and do the thing, and then I would forget, and it was a rough start to save. So
that is so rough. Yeah. So any whom there's a good bit of side quests. I haven't done any of them yet. For next week, I am planning on both doing side quests and also listening to a bunch of dreams, because I think we should talk about some dreams next week. Because it's kind of an important part of the game. We haven't touched it, and I haven't really had time. But did you get to the Kilolon village?
I did.
So what I did was, part of my playthrough, I didn't do any side quest, but I did, the game marked all new locations on your map, so I drove my ship around to every location, entered, and then once it was on my map, I left. The Kilolon village is a very, very worth doing one. It's how you get the best white magic in the game. It might be the only way to get, like, white magic rank 8 skill, or maybe it's like you get a certain spell.
You get a certain spell.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's really cool. You have to use Cook as a attacker in a tournament all by yourself to get it.
Oh, wait, you did do it?
I started it, and I did not finish it.
Yeah, if I recall, you check a guide, of course, but that's the one I was saying before, where I recall that one being low energy, low effort, very high payoff. There's also like 4 other dungeons.
Yeah.
There's like the pirates' hideout, which isn't a dungeon; it's more like a town. Then there's the something forgotten cave, which is like where Anira used to hang out.
And yeah, that's where Seth's not her ultimate weapon, because her and Kayam share an ultimate weapon, but it is her second ultimate weapon, so it might as well be her ultimate, and you give the other one to Kayam. But
yeah, and then there's the dungeon in southwest of New Mara, which we already had access to earlier. Then there's like 2 other ones. There's the Frozen Wastes.
There's a Lost Woods one, which is really cool, and it tricked me into seeming like something I could handle, because the mobs were all easy, and then he one-shot my party, because he has the one. He has the best black magic in the game, which is an all spell. It's basically Ultima, and it wipes the floor with everything, and he can use it twice in a turn if you get bad RNG, which I did. And that was the first time I had to go and redo like 3 different side quests.
Yeah, I don't remember any of these side quests. All I remember is the Kilolon village, and then I know I did all of them. Back when I played this game, I did every side quest. But the one that is definitely the hardest and longest is the second southeast continent ancient people dungeon. That's a big one. That's a big motherfucker one. So that's one that I would certainly recommend not bothering with. But yeah, I'm excited to go do maybe like half of these. Oh, and there's
also story
the
DLC.
battling.
There's also story DLC for this game that we won't be talking about because I'm too cheap to.
I don't know if it's like. I think it's a dungeon that doesn't really have any important plot, but then it does have like 4 more dreams or something.
Something like that.
Even though I like this game, I'd never bothered with the DLC. What was I going to say? And also, don't forget that there is also the battling arena up in Gotza.
The backyard. Which has the best song in the game.
Yes, it's a fucking great music, and it's also quite fun and gives you great rewards. So next week, I'm probably going to do Kalolan Village, Backyard, and that's probably it. Oh, and then defeating the Divine Beast. I'll probably go ahead and do that one too, and then I'll probably just say fuck it and go beat the
backyard
game.
The backyard is great because so at this point, without counting all of my things, I think I have found maybe 16 or 17 slot seeds. There are 18 up for grabs in the backyard.
Wow, that rules. That whips.
Yeah. Backyard is dope. I'm not going to do any of it. I'm going to beat the game and double my save and come back to it eventually. But I'm a little burnt out. Like it's really sad because the Grand Staff being like, I basically started playing at 10 o'clock in the morning and I finished right before putting Scarlet down. Like it was a day of playing this week, and because it was that and nothing really happened, it kind of burnt me out on the gameplay of the game a little bit, and that sucks because there's a lot more stuff to do, and I really like the game and I would like to play more of the game, but I don't see myself doing it this week because last week was annoying.
No, totally. I feel like if we weren't doing the podcast format, I would have been like, hey, go do all the fun side quests before you go to Grand Staff. Yeah. That way you get to have fun doing the side quests, and then you get fucking OP, and then you blow through Grand Staff, and it's not annoying. But regardless, say la vie. Anyway, I have one final mineral moment. This is just a funny little emotional one for me. When the Grand Staff is flying through the canyon, there's a shot where it sort of does rise up above the mountains. And it's this nice sort of, I think it might even be slow motion, the sort of slow shot as it's sort of like floating sort of grandiosely. And what's neat is that shot is the exact replication of a piece of concept art. That was the very first thing that Mistwalker ever released.
Nice.
So back when I was a tiny baby, I was a JRPG baby who just loved Final Fantasy so much, right? I hadn't gotten into Halo and Metal Gear yet, which turned me on to action games. And I love Final Fantasy. I love Final Fantasy 10 and 6 and all that. And then of course the big news happens that Hironobu Sakaguchi has left to form his own company, and so has Nobuo Uematsu. Who knows what they're doing, and Sakaguchi is working with Microsoft. That's very interesting. Luckily I was the one kid on the block with an Xbox. Okay, I guess I was already into Halo at that point. I was the Halo and JRPG baby. Can't wait to see what he comes up with. And the first thing that they released, they were just like, it was literally like Mistwalker launches their site, and it was like a splash page. Back in the day everyone had those like Flash websites. It was literally just like a Flash page that said like Mistwalker, and then it had like wallpapers, because again it was the aughts. It had like wallpapers. It had like a little thing about how it had like profiles of Sakaguchi and Uematsu, who they were collaborating with, and the artists for Lost Odyssey. But they hadn't announced any games yet. And then it had like one piece of concept art, and they made a big deal of showing it, being like, this art, I don't know, sort of shows our vision for the kind of games we want to make. And it was just this beautiful illustration of this strange magical tower that's sort of weird and semicircular shaped and lopsided, and it's kind of like, it looks like it's kind of like falling, but not in a dramatic way, to sort of like drifting kind of like lazily to the right, with these like mountains in the background and all these swooshy magical energies everywhere. And I was just captivated by that image. I was just like, this is awesome. I want to know what this thing is and what the world that it exists in is, and then many, and then like a couple years later, funny enough, it wasn't even their first game, it was their second game. Here's this game. So when that shot showed up in the cutscene, it gave me this like hells of like childhood nostalgia feels, which is extra funny because I did not actually play the game when it came out. Because by the time the game came out, I wasn't into JRPGs anymore. So by the time I actually didn't play the game till college. So it's not a nostalgia of playing the game as a kid. It's a nostalgia of seeing a picture and looking forward to the game as a kid.
Speaking of games to look forward to, Star Ocean 5 is $15 on PSN for Black Friday, and every single one of you should get it and play it. The game frickin' rules.
Oh, motherfucker. I always forget that there's Black Friday stuff online, because, of course, I'm not going to be one of those people who goes to a store on Black Friday. But online deals, Star Ocean... should one play Star Ocean 5 as their first Star Ocean?
So, I think it's okay to be your first one, because...
Also, just case in point, I already know the stupid twist at the end of 3, so...
Okay, it's takes place prior to 3, I believe. I think 3 is the last one chronologically. I may be wrong on that. It doesn't really matter because very few of the games connect. They just have a loose connection through the Kinney family, and Emerson Kinney, the one in 5, is my favorite one. Even though
this is the series where every game is like. This is the series where every game is like the first half of it is like just generic fantasy shit, and then halfway through it turns out they're spaceships, right?
Yeah. And so Star Ocean 2 flips that. Star Ocean 2 and 4 flip that on their head, where you play the spaceman that has to go to the not space. Actually, I guess only that I've played, only 1 and 5 don't do that, because I just remembered Star Ocean 3, you're also a spaceman that crashes. So 2, 3, and 4, you're a spaceman that crashes. 1 and 5, you're a medieval man that goes to space. But yeah, it's relatively unconcerned with the rest of it. Like the fact that Emerson's last name is Kinney is just like a bonus more than tying into the other ones. So it's probably okay to be your first one. It was not my first one, so it's hard for me to judge that. But it rules. It's definitely...
I'm certainly interested in playing it, and I've heard everyone say that... Well, not everyone, because no one played it. I've heard the only 2 people I know who actually played it, you and my friend Jared, both say that it rules.
Yeah. Like, this will either sound like a good thing or a bad thing, so you can judge accordingly. In the middle of the game, just like for funsies... It's basically an episode of Star Trek, and you're just on board of a bridge, and they're describing the things that are happening outside in space, and you get a couple of shots of things outside in space, but mostly it's just like a good 30-minute cutscene. That's Star Trek, and it's dope, and I fucking love that shit.
Nice.
But what I actually... that was just a joke segue that I was trying to resolve quicker, but...
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that was a real segue. But please remind me again next week, because I would like to take advantage of that deal.
I will. So it's actually live now. If you have $15, like recording now, it's live. If you wanted to grab it, but it will be live until December 1st or something like that. But the real segue was, speaking of games that are awesome, you and Eli will be playing Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney for the Game Boy Advance, except you'll both probably be playing it on Switch or 3DS or PS4 or iOS, because no one has it on Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
But yeah, that'll be super exciting.
I'm glad that this is the one that I went with. I mean, I love Danganronpa. I think it's I guess if I had to pick, I would say it's the better of the 2 games. But I played Danganronpa 3 just 2 years ago. I haven't played Phoenix Wright since I played through all 3 of them in the space of like a month back in like the beginning of 2015. I was living at home with my parents for like 6 months in between college and going to Austin. So I'm really looking forward to revisiting this fucking game.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do a bonus episode where we go on Trans Rage for Danganronpa, or if Danganronpa wins Best of the Rest. We can save it for then, but... Yeah,
annoyingly, these Phoenix Wright games don't have any queer characters, so they can't have bad queer representation.
Yep. But, yeah, I'm stoked for you guys to do that, and I will maybe play along, maybe just binge them in a week, maybe not ever play it. We'll see. They're all on my list, so maybe I will play it. But
I think you should totally play along. They're not that long. They're very low stress. I mean, they're very low, effort. Like, I think psychologically, I know you're very busy, but I think it probably would be like, I think it would make your life better to play them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think it'd be a bad decision.
That's what I was feeling as well. But so that will happen in 2 weeks' time. Eli will be back. I will be gone. We'll be playing Phoenix Wright. 2 weeks is, of course, a loose term because all three of us are, like, raked against the coals a little bit. So
we're all just, like, dead right now for different reasons.
Yeah, there may be, like, a week or so of time off, but we'll see how it all goes. But also, what should we watch Highlander to be about immortals, or should we watch a what was my other one? I had something else.
I've never seen Highlander, but I'd be interested in something else. I'm not saying I don't want to watch Highlander, but whatever your other idea is might be fun too.
So it was Highlander for immortals, and then something to deal with the family of it all, but I can't remember what it was.
Something about sad feels and family.
We'll think of something, and then we'll announce it in our Discord, which that reminds me of another thing that I've forgotten. We actually have a giveaway going for the rest of November. So far, only one eligible participant has joined, so if you want to not let Matt win, you can do it. But it is to win my copies of both Halo and Lost Odyssey, because I bought 2 copies of each one. And so if you want to play either of the 2 games that we have been gushing about over the last couple of weeks.
Signed by Sam and Eli?
Probably just signed by me, because I don't know if Summer said she'll sign it. So
get Scarlett to sign it.
Yeah, I'll get Scarlett to draw a picture to put inside of each one.
She's getting really good at faces.
That'll
It's
be
actually
great.
a good idea. It's a really good idea.
It's a great idea. That's now the thing. Scarlett will do the pictures. So if you want either of those games, on our Twitter and in the show notes here will be a link to a Google form to fill out. It's basically just jumping through hoops to make our podcast get more listeners and to join our Discord. So do all of those things, and you can win my junk. But I think that's everything. I all the paperwork type stuff I needed to do. I'm trying to remember the actual word instead of paperwork, but I can't.
You are so tired.
I guess. Yeah, I'm gonna go to sleep. But if you liked what you hear, you can hit us up on our Discord and our Twitter, etc. You can find links to that on our website at www.rpgbook.club. It also has a link to our Ko-Fi, ko-fi.com/rpgbookclub, where you can support us. Our child and best boy Cohen has started supporting us as of this month, and he is the leader. He is the leader of his own JRPG, and he rules. And I love him, so it reminded me to give him green text right now. Just did it. And so he thanks a lot to Cohen for chiming in. He actually broke a tie between Danganronpa and Phoenix Wright. It was hilarious because only 4 people had voted, and it was a tie. So I was like, all right, well, let me go and hit up the other 4 people that haven't voted to get them to vote, since we need to break this tie. Then all of them voted equally for opposite things, so we were tied again. And so Cohen came through at the last second. He was the swing vote for Phoenix Wright, so you can blame him. But
you won't blame him, because the games are wonderful. You will thank him.
Yes. So you can hit us up on our Ko-Fi, which now can do embedded images. So my next several reviews, instead of being a link from the Ko-Fi, will be Ko-Fi exclusive for a bit. It'll just work smoother for you, which is cool. I just beat Pokemon, so I will be back to playing my Digimon project, which will be Ko-Fi exclusive for a bit. So if you want to hear me wax poetic about why, easily proven, everyone agrees, the worst games on their respective consoles. If you want to hear why they're good, actually, because that's what I'm about, you can hit us up on our Ko-Fi. But other than that, just keep on listening and keep on playing games and keep on doing what you do. For RPG Book Club, I have been Sam Allman.
And I've been Maddie.
Toodaloo, folks.
Love you, nerds.
Housekeeping. There it is. Housekeeping. Found it. Nailed it.